Seeds of Harmony. Chapter 2. The Draconian Ascent. The Peaceful Origins. In the beginning, the Draconians were known not as harbingers of chaos, but as keepers of wisdom and custodians of cosmic energy. Their civilization sprawled across vast nebulae and ancient star clusters, illuminated by a unique harmony with the rhythms of the universe. Generation upon generation, these ethereal beings nurtured a culture of introspection, peaceful coexistence, and a deep spiritual connection with the celestial bodies that governed their fate. Their cities, carved into the crystalline cores of dormant asteroids, were marvels of architectural grace, a living testament to their unyielding belief in balance. In the soft glow of distant supernovas, elder Draconians recited long-forgotten hymns to honor the cosmic dance, and the gentle flow of interstellar energies bound them together in an almost tangible unity. The seeds of corruption. Yet, even in a realm ruled by serenity, the seeds of ambition found fertile ground. Hidden away in the labyrinthine vaults of their ancient temples lay enigmatic relics, whose powers were woven into the fabric of creation itself. It was during an era of minor skirmishes with a rival star clan that a radical faction of Draconians began to question the old ways. Led by personalities of immense mental prowess and raw ambition, these visionaries viewed the mystical artifacts not merely as tokens of history, but as keys to unimaginable power. Their hearts, once pure, began to echo with the desire for dominion over the cosmic forces. Subtly, dissent spread like a virulent energy among the youth and the scholars, and the once harmonious society started to fracture under the weight of unchecked aspiration. Artifacts of destiny. The transformation was subtle at first. The ancient relics, which had been revered for millennia, were now probed and studied with a new agenda. Draconian alchemists devised arcane experiments that merged the relics with forbidden energies drawn from the quantum void. One such artifact, known as the Star Heart, was said to pulse with the living song of the universe. Its energies could amplify the natural abilities of its wielder, yet also corrupted the soul with every surge of power. Under the guidance of the incipient faction, the Star Heart was integrated into ritual ceremonies that promised transcendence beyond mortal limitations. As the relic's power seeped into the fabric of their collective identity, a metamorphosis occurred, a blend of spiritual elevation and moral decay that initiated the irreversible shift from wisdom to warfare. A fateful convergence. In the heart of a forgotten nebula, where the luminous trails of distant galaxies intermingled, the first schism took shape. The great council of Draconian elders, with their eyes reflecting the ancient energies of the cosmos, convened in an attempt to steer the unfolding crisis. However, their deliberations were marred by the arrogance of a few prominent luminaries who had embraced the newfound path. In clandestine meetings held beneath the shadow of meteor showers, these ambitious leaders conspired to harness the relic's power for a supreme vision, a future where the Draconians would rise as deities over not only their own world, but the entire galaxy. The precarious balance of ages trembled as subtle deceptions replaced venerable traditions, and the once sacred scrolls began to recount a tale of rising dominance over benevolent guidance. The darkening of leadership. As the ambitions of these renegade leaders grew, so too did their influence over the population. The charismatic and cunning High Synod member Zalreth emerged as the symbol of this dangerous new order. Once a devout guardian of the cosmic lore, Zalreth's transformation was both tragic and inevitable. Under the searing influence of the Star Heart, his once gentle luminescence was replaced by a cold, predatory glare. His speeches, laden with veiled threats and promises of cosmic order through rigid control, began to seduce many who had longed for strength in troubled times. Through mesmerizing oratory and arcane indoctrination, Zalreth and his inner circle rewrote ancient philosophies, recasting spiritual awakening as a prelude to ultimate supremacy. They arrogantly dismissed the gentle wisdom of old, replacing it with a narrative that elevated ambition above compassion. The Draconian Ascent. Deep within the labyrinth of an abandoned orbital sanctuary, the transformative events reached a critical crescendo. In a ceremony witnessed by the chosen few, the dark rites were performed beneath a tapestry of swirling stars. These rites, combining potent incantations with the latent energy of the relics, catalyzed the final stage of their metamorphosis. The participants underwent a physical and spiritual transfiguration. Scales hardened, luminous eyes darkened, and formerly benign energy morphed into a fierce, consuming blaze. The ceremony was not merely symbolic, it altered the very essence of their being. Some described it as a painful rebirth, where each participant was tethered irrevocably to the dark currents now surging through the cosmos. In the wake of that fateful night, Draconian society was irrevocably changed. The transformation was not isolated to one event, but rather an unstoppable evolution that radiated across every facet of their culture. Daily practices shifted from communal meditation to militaristic training regimes, and the once melodious chants were replaced by hymns of conquest. The clear demarcation between celestial spirituality and ruthless pragmatism blurred, merging into doctrines that celebrated power over peace. Statues and murals that once depicted the gentle flow of cosmic energy now featured images of scaled warriors brandishing relics as scepters of fate. Echoes through the cosmos. This internal schism had far-reaching consequences for the galaxy. Neighboring star races, who had long regarded the Draconians as wise arbiters of cosmic balance, began to see them as volatile and unpredictable forces. Diplomatic emissaries reported disturbing changes. Once verdant regions on the Draconian homeworld now bristled with fortifications, and the celestial light that bathed their cities took on an eerie, blood-red tint. Rumors spread of secret pacts forged with shadowy entities inhabiting the dark fringes of the universe, entities whose very existence was a myth among lesser beings. The cosmic lattice trembled as these legends not only hinted at potential alliances with malevolent forces, but also promised future conflicts that might engulf entire star clusters in warfare. Within the inner circles of power, debates raged over the true meaning of their newfound destiny. Was this transformation a divine calling, a necessary evolution to harness the full potential of cosmic energies, or a tragic deviation from an ancient path of harmony? Factions formed within factions, each vying for control over the relics and the direction of their society. Rituals that were once performed in quiet sanctuaries evolved into grand, public spectacles of power, designed to awe and intimidate both allies and adversaries. The rituals were imbued with symbols and motifs that were deliberately ambiguous, designed to inspire loyalty among the faithful, while concealing the deeper machinations at work behind a veil of esoteric language and cosmic allegory. Skirmishes and subterfuge. In the shadow of these sweeping changes, clandestine operations began to shape the destiny of the Draconians. Groups of renegade scholars, who still clung to the vestiges of the old ways, initiated secret expeditions to recover lost texts and artifacts that predated the current era. Their aim was to find a counterbalance to the overwhelming currents of darkness that now defined their culture. These expeditions led to perilous encounters in abandoned ruins and derelict space stations, where ancient guardians and spectral echoes of forgotten deities lurked. The expeditions were meticulously chronicled in hidden codices, providing a counter-narrative that sought to remind the Draconians of the wisdom embedded in their peaceful past. Yet for every recovered relic, another was manipulated by the ruling faction to deepen the mystique of their dark doctrine. The cosmic stage was set for a turbulent era, where belief and ambition intertwined in unforeseen ways. In crystalline chambers illuminated by pulsating energies, secret conclaves examined the mysteries of energy transference and matter metamorphosis. Rituals involved the careful placement of relics upon crystalline altars, surrounded by rows of chanting acolytes whose voices resonated with the ambient frequencies of the universe. One such ritual, known as the Ascent of Shadows, symbolized a complete severance from the past, a deliberate embrace of darkness as the guiding light of the future. Here, high-ranking members donned ornate, intricate armor that told the story of their transformation in every etched line and luminescent shard. A new order in the void. By now, the internal transformation had rippled outward to influence every realm of Draconian existence. Trade routes once used for the exchange of knowledge and art were repurposed into supply lines for exotic weaponry constructed from infused cosmic metals. Even the spiritual ledgers that once held records of ancestral wisdom were altered to include prophecies of an inevitable ascension, one that was believed to manifest through ruthless clarity and unstoppable force. Rituals that celebrated the fleeting beauty of celestial events were now overshadowed by ceremonies venerating conquest and resilience. The tapestry of Draconian lore, woven over eons, began to fray at the seams, revealing raw, bitter strands of ambition and grief that could not be easily reconciled. The propagandists of the New Order orchestrated grand displays of power that resonated across the galaxy. Across the obsidian skies of their homeworld, fleets of energy ships launched symbolic parades of luminescent fire and shifting shadows. For many, these spectacles were both mesmerizing and terrifying, a dramatic overture to a saga of transformation where the sacred and the profane danced in close, dangerous proximity. Within these displays lay the seeds of future conquests, and the insidious truth that true power was not inherited from the cosmos, but seized from its very heart. Reflections in a shattered mirror. Within the labyrinth of memory and myth, the Draconians now faced a reckoning. Those who remembered the serene teachings of old sensed that something invaluable had been forsaken in the pursuit of absolute power. Private reflections in the sanctuaries of old, where luminescent murals depicted the gentle hand of fate, now produced only haunting doubts. In hushed tones, the elders recounted the early days when the unity among the stars was celebrated with humble rituals and whispered hopes. But those days were now obscured by an overwhelming tide of ambition and corrupted lore. The mirror of their identity was shattered, its fragments scattered across the void, each reflecting the multifaceted nature of a culture caught between its luminous past and its dark, uncertain future. Amid the relentless pursuit of cosmic dominion, there were still fleeting moments of introspection. A select few, hidden in the deep recesses of ancient archives and secret groves suspended in anti-gravitational sanctuaries, continued to search for answers. They pored over cryptic manuscripts and nebular inscriptions that spoke of a time when the Draconians touched the divine without sacrificing their soul. Their quest was perilous. The more they unraveled, the more they risked the wrath of the dominant order. Yet, in this covert resistance lay the faint glimmer of reconciliation, a hope that someday the lost harmony might be pieced together from the scattered remnants of a shattered legacy. The cosmic rift widens. Even as the transformation solidified, the echoes of ancient prophecies grew louder. In secret conclaves, mystics and warrior scholars debated the heavenly signs that foreshadowed a grand conflict, a cosmic rift that would soon ensnare the entire galaxy. The ancient artifacts, once symbols of unity, were now potent emblems of division. Every manipulated relic, every altered ritual, deepened the schism that separated the Draconians from the other celestial races. The very structure of the cosmos itself seemed to respond to these changes. Nebulas twisted into chaotic spirals and distant quasars pulsed with an eerie, foreboding rhythm. In this era of profound transformation, the Draconians embraced a destiny that was as much a curse as it was a promised ascension. Their journey, infused with the brilliance of millennia and the darkness of a fallen age, continued to unfold in layers upon layers of mystique, ambition, and cosmic turbulence. As the void beyond shimmered with untold secrets and hidden energies, the story of the Draconians marched onward, each step echoing a past filled with light and a future steeped in ominous, inexorable change.